everybody, Princess Jerry Cannoli here. Welcome to Chasing Fruit Loops, the Long Island-based show out of Bobby Lacera's Paradise Studios. This is where I get to sit and chat with the hottest and coolest cats that I know. Tonight's guest is Ed the Hat.
What's happening?
Hi.
What's going down?
Everything's cool. Everything's really good. Today was nothing but good news all day, so we're just going to keep that vibe going for the rest of the day and into the next few days.
That's always a beautiful thing. When things go smooth, it makes life a lot easier.
It does. It does. Like yesterday's disaster. So we're into today now. We're good.
Okay.
All right. Ed, why don't you tell the viewers a little bit about yourself?
Well, there might be someone that actually know who I am and some that don't know me from Adam. So I'll have to go through a little bit of the history there. My name's Ed D'Alessio. Everybody calls me Ed the Hat. I usually wear a fedora. I got one hanging there and a whole bunch on the steps over here. I've been wearing them for a long, long time. And my dad wore it. And all right, let's do a quick thing on the hat. My father wore it, and I didn't start wearing the hat because of blues music or anything like that. I started wearing the hat in remembrance of my dad. So I took on the hat for that reason after he had passed away. I guess it was 1989, somewhere around there. He had a heart attack and died. And I took on the hat for that reason, but that turned into Ed the Hat. I was Ed the Fish because before that, actually during that time, I worked at a taxidermy and I made giant models of the biggest fish on the planet. One of the last jobs I did was the Riverhead Aquarium, the giant white shark in there, the big mako sharks, all the big the manta rays, all of that stuff. I was involved in that whole entire project. But I had done that probably close to 30 years of my life. I was involved in that business. Lo and behold, I was playing music on and off around that, learning to become as good as I could get, like everybody else in the business. And along the lines of that being done, came up with a disease one day called COPD lung disease. And that kind of punched me out of being in that business anymore. I had to get out. Because of car paints, car fumes, scratch fillers for cars, and all kinds of chemicals that I work with, fiberglass resin. That's how you make the reproduction models of those giant sharks. So I couldn't be around that material anymore. So, famous Little Buster and the Soul Brothers sat down next to me in a club gig that he had. I went down to see him, and I was coughing like an animal and lost a lot of weight with this disease I had. And he said, "Eddie, be the drummer." I said, "What?" He said, "Don't worry about that job." He said, "Be the drummer. You play better than most people on Long Island. Be the drummer." So I started from that. And, Jim Moran picked up on me. That was around him for many, many years. I still do things with him today. I'm not the man I used to be. I'm now 59 years old. I've been through a lot. I turned 59 day before yesterday. So May 10th, whatever that was. So I started into the music thing. And that traveled me around. I got around with a guy named Larry Burton and Tony Lorenz, the famous guys from Albert Collins and Albert King. If anybody's the king, they're known as the Kings of the Blues, B.B. King, Albert King, Freddie King. Well, these guys took me around all over Europe, which kind of gave me somewhat of a name. And when I got back, to other musicians that are out there, and the talent just got better and better, just from playing all the time. We were doing from open jam nights with Jim Moran all over Long Island, on top of weekend gigs, working with different front singers, different bands, different name bands. I mean, even now you can catch us sometimes with We Got You, Annabelle Marie's band that was designed. That me and Annabelle kind of put that together. It's like I put the name on it, and that ran from there. But the open jam has always been like me and Jim have been doing that so long. It became like comedy and music and sharing. Some of the best musicians on Long Island show up for these things. It's really amazing what happens there. And again, because of my ailments in life, it's better for me because I'm not really built for that, rat race of 6-7 days a week that we did back in the early days, man. Me and Jim, we were crazy, man. We'd play doubles on the weekends. We'd work from like Tuesday to Sunday with doubles on Saturdays and no breaks. I mean, we did that for years, man. And we do it for a bunch of years with one singer, Prentice McNeil, who worked with the Drifters. We did it with him. We did a bunch of people, different front people. Ed Terry was another guy we worked with for many, many years. An amazing singer out of New York.
He's great.
Good guy. So basically, I came up through that. But originally, back in my early days, from people seeing me online with this with the Good Orderly Direction group that we put together. Actually, Jerry's involved with that with me also. And that situation is based on where I came from in my belief in God. And under the coronavirus and the disasters that we're facing today, God kind of put his foot in my drumming butt and said, you got to do something. So I came out from only having this under my belt for myself mostly, and decided to start teaching about God. What I knew of it, and what I know of it now, and what I'm still learning. And it's been somewhat of a hit. Like, it's bringing a lot of people in, man.
Been some freaking wild nights, man. Some wild nights we got going on.
Seen the miraculous taking place on and off here and there. Things that are like, you can't get around it. It had to be God answering prayer because we was prayed and this would happen and that happened and this. We've seen things turn around. So when you let God be God, God will do things.
Oh! Dropped you. I dropped you.
What are we doing? Podcast? Is that what this is?
Yeah, podcasting.
You fell off a pod.
More like dropcasting at this point. It's a dropcast.
Yeah, so...
okay, well, I had you on a smaller pedestal thing, and it kind of flopped over, so I had to reposition.
Yeah, so
before we continue with the... what, love?
I was going to say, many years ago, before I came out to work and play with in the bars and stuff with Jim Moran and all that, I had a bout with heavy drug addiction, and that's what had brought me to the church. And there was nobody could help the problem I had. I was severely addicted to almost everything on the planet. That was disgusting, and I was ruining my life, and I was dying. So I went for help with God. So all of that happened way before I got involved in playing the clubs and stuff. So I played in church for like 14 years before I came out to club world. So thus bringing about where the teaching comes from. I sat under a lot of big time ministers. I learned a lot of stuff from a lot of great people out there. Some of them are right here from Long Island. Some of them from around the world that showed up in that church. But all of a sudden with the coronavirus, God has pushed it upon me to like open my mouth and let him use me. I'm no better than you. I'm no better than nobody else. I'm not loved more by God because of it. I can show you that old scripture and verse on my own show if you want to watch that, whenever it's on. And I don't want to take up too much time on that part of it. But what were you going to ask me, Jerry? You said you were going to ask me something?
Well, I was going to go back to the drumming and then the church stuff. Okay. So I might have to go back. I might have to go backwards now.
Okay. Not a problem.
Okay, let's work on this the drumming stuff. You do play other instruments besides the drums, right?
I dabbled in guitar pretty much, and I really wasn't. When I came out, I never sang. I was never a singer. And then as the years went on, I was singing a lot of backup for Prentice McNeil. This guy took Benny King's place in the Drifters for about 11 years at one time. And he's still on Long Island. He's out in the East End. But anyway, I worked with Prentice was the one that was pushing me to sing this harmony, that harmony. And in doing so, one night he started off with the song Stand By Me. I was on drums playing. And he announced who he was and what he did with the Drifters and all of that stuff. And he turned around and he said, Eddie, take it. I said, what? He said, it's yours. Head the hat. And I sang Stand By Me for the first time in front of people, and the reaction was unbelievable. I couldn't believe the reaction he got.
Holy.
Prentice looked at me and he said, I told you could sing. I told you. So then I started doing some vocal work. Of course, COPD doesn't allow me to probably do 3 full sets of music. I don't think I can get away with it in a night. I'd be choking to death. But, I do what I can. But the drumming started out with as I was born into a house that I was 2 or 3 years old, maybe 3. My father had bought a marching band bass drum, a snare drum, a ride cymbal, and a hi-hat. So there was no top toms or floor toms or nothing like that. That was my brother's drum set for Christmas, right? My father was a horn player, a trumpet player, jazz cat, as well as a postal worker until he passed away. God rest his soul. Anyway, so that was what we started. I used to stand up and play drums because I couldn't sit on the seat and reach the bass pedal. Because that marching band bass drum, we threw a bass pedal on there and a snare drum and had a little arm that held the ride cymbal. So no crash cymbals, not like. So it was forcing me to learn how to play the grooves and the beats. Well, that got thrown away at one point in life, and then they were gone. Then I had a guitar that my father gave me for my birthday or Christmas, an electric guitar, and I never got an amp for it. It was a Univox. It's worth a lot of money today. I wish I had that guitar. I could make a fortune on it. Anyway, they were made on Long Island, the Univox Guitar Company. I dabbled in that for a number of years. I always wanted to play drums again. Traded the guitar to another kid in the town of Westbury where I grew up at that time, and I got this Kent drum set. If any drummers that are out there know anything about Kent drums, they're made out of balsa wood. They're so horrible and so disgustingly bad, and they're worthless. Well, that was what I did. And then that became the first album I worked on was Cosmos Factory by CCR, Creedence Clearwater Revival. In the basement, we moved to Lindenhurst. And in the basement, I had the drum set up with a Webcore stereo that my brother had that we dragged over from Westbury to Lindenhurst. We moved. And I sat there pushing the needle back and playing this part again, play it again. Self-taught myself how to hold all the grooves to all of those famous songs on Cosmos Factory. And the whole household was like, wow, he could actually play these things. I actually picked it up on my own. I was self-taught. Led Zeppelin became big in the school I was in here in Lindenhurst. It was huge. It was 1970s, right? With that, I wanted to be John Bonham. I was going to be him. I was going to be as good as him. He was my idol. He was my hero. The greatest drummer in the world. And in the meantime, I had so many Beatles and everything else. Some of the greatest musicians in the world that were out there, like the band, the Beatles. To me, the greatest band there ever was, as far as songs written and sold. Forget about it. These guys were monsters. But I stuck with that, and I went with the Zeppelin stuff. It was Zeppelin, the Black Sabbath, Deep Purple, Machine Head. All that style of music was what I got into there. But I had the soul and R&B era from the town of Westbury, which is a very mixed neighborhood. So when I went to school, it was predominantly black in my school, So I was the Shy-Lights, the Drifters, the Jive Five, Freddie Scott, all these different guys that we knew from that era, so many of them. Rubber Band Man and all those songs. That was what I grew up on over there. So that was in my blood. And I realized as years went on, I loved this style of music more than anything. Probably stuck out more than any other style of music to me. So now I'm involved in singing it. I'm involved in playing it. I love the style of it. It draws people. And drums was self-taught. I never took a lesson in my life. I don't know how to read note one. I can't read music at all. People are amazed by that, but I don't know why God. I didn't know why for many years coming up, but now I know why. It's God that gave me the gift. I wanted it. The desire was in my heart, and it opened the door for that. It really did, because I would not let up. I always looked at it this way: if I watch a guy on TV on those, remember on the weekends we used to have those Saturday I forgot the name of the shows. We had shows on Saturdays back in the 70s that were all music. I forgot the name of the shows. There was two of them that were out there. Anyway, I used to watch those shows, and I'd see what the guys played and how they played, and I'd say, if that's a human being. If he can do that, I can do that. And I'd sit there and with the records and try to figure out every part of the song, and I taught myself how to play. Then I learned a lot with Jim. Jim Moran shoved me into learning music.
Wow.
Like distinct styles. All right.
You just answered like three questions. Well, you just answered like three questions that I was going to ask you.
Oh, okay.
One was, what was the biggest challenges? The other one was, what are the styles that you prefer?
I prefer R&B and soul. Like if I was to have my way, R&B and soul music. But don't get me wrong. If somebody comes up out of nowhere at an open jam and starts belting out Robert Plant to the letter, I hit Led Zeppelin like all over the room, man, and I feel it just as big, I wouldn't really say that. It's my favorite solid only music. But what I love about the R&B music is the vocal work. There's a lot of harmony. And there's other bands that aren't R&B. They're different than that, which is like, say, the Doobie Brothers. I love the Doobie Brothers because they got great harmony too. They got great harmony in that.
Oh yeah, they're great.
There's still a vocal work in there. To me, that's the camaraderie of the musicians. When everybody's got a part and everybody's nailing a part, and you hear that, and you can feel it. You can feel that, man. When and I'll be honest with you, I've said this a million times. Most great musicians would know this. They would agree with me 100%. No matter how great my drum solo was, or how great Jim Moran's guitar solo was, or Joe Vicino, great guitar player for his solo. No matter how great our solos are, no one really notices that. They notice the vocals. The singer is always the most famous thing in the band. You think about it, right? Look at that. Who's the most famous singer in the Monkees? The little guy. Everybody loved him, right? And Paul McCartney, John Lennon. The singers always stand out more. So it doesn't matter how great your chops are or what you can do. you play. Listen, don't get me wrong. We play distinct drum parts to a Led Zeppelin song, just like the record, and the guitar parts are the same and bass parts are the same. That really makes that happen. We call those signature songs, where you have to play the signature parts of the music. Makes it a lot harder. So in the 70s, when we had all the bands playing the clubs on Long Island, and copying Zeppelin to the letter, Zebra, stuff like that, or Randy Jackson stuff, and Randy's great. But that's another art form to me. See, in R&B, you can bend it to your own a little bit. You could soulfully move it around a little bit. You can make something your own. You can't do that with like a Whole Lot of Love. You got to make it sound like the record, because everybody's looking to hear the same parts. They're in the same places. They know them. They know them by heart. They memorize them. So that's a different element I had to learn. And and then there's bebop and jazz, which Jim Moran schooled me in enough that I can play it. I wouldn't consider myself a jazz great, but I definitely can get through it. That's the hardest music in the world to me. But I think the best thing that ever happened to me was Jim Moran in the music world. What I gotten from gospel music in my younger years playing for the gospel church in the early days was limited. It was just for that. It wasn't limited for that. It was limited to that. And I didn't have any other styles there. Whatever they pulled out at me was a lot of country type feels and stuff. It really didn't have a lot of syncopation, funk, and soul. A few songs here and there, maybe, but like very far from Eugene. But with Jim, I got a ton of stuff. I think we got to go for a break. I see him.
Yes, we do. We're going to take a commercial break, and we'll be right back with Ed the Hat.
Cool.
ALJ Service Center, 2100 Belmore Avenue in Belmore. Ray and the crew have an outstanding reputation in the Belmore community, built by hard work, honesty, and professionalism. ALJ specializes in computer diagnostics for today's modern automobiles. Whether it's domestic or foreign, ALJ assures your vehicle is at peak performance when it leaves. ALJ also offers expert restoration and repair on vehicles, as well as antique, classic, and muscle cars. Call ALJ for your automotive needs. 516-409-4433. Once again, that number is 516-409-4433.
This is Jerry Ann Casola. She has just finished working on a collection of short stories about the love and joy rescue animals can bring. Each chapter contains a message about how people should and could be kinder to animals. The book is rated G, meaning family friendly. To order Life in the Pits, send $13 to paypal.me/Jerry Ann Casola.
Pit of Our Souls, a nonprofit animal rescue that deals primarily with pit bulls but will never turn away any dog, no matter what breed or size. Their primary focus is not only to rescue and rehome those in need, but to educate and rehabilitate to prevent the cycle from continuing. Pit of Our Souls offers boarding, training, and as much assistance as possible to those in need. Call Pit of Our Souls 516-308-6221 or check out their website www.pitofoursoulsrescue.com.
And we're back with Ed the Hat. Okay, we were talking about your drumming and everything. What really got with me is I've seen you play 1,000 times over. And you always whip into this drum solo, bah, 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 all over the place, crash, 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 really cool. And then all of a sudden it's like, bang, 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 like nothing happened and you're right back into the song. That is a damn talent that you have right there. And was that a challenge learning that, or did it just really come natural?
Well, for any drummer that's out there, they'll all agree with me on this. When you take a solo, the hardest thing in the world to learn to get yourself to do is to not speed up in the solo. And when you come back, be right back in the same time sequence of the song itself. I mean, you could leave the time. You could leave the time and speed up as much as you want. But if when you go to come out, you better land right back where the tempo of that song was and bring the band back in. You also got to make some sort of musical statement that schooled guitar players and bass players, they can hear, like something that you're doing in the riff, like you're going to come out. They could also count like 4 times around in the solo. They'll know you went around 4 times, it's going to come out here. Boom, and they land with me. But again, timing, and that's what once I saw that challenge, I said, I have to defeat that problem. And that's always a problem for drummers because because when you're playing with the whole band, you're not that nervous. Everybody's playing at the same time. You keeping your beat and stuff, right? Do your little fills here and there, stay in the groove, right? But when they also give the drummer some, all of a sudden everybody stops and it's just drums, and you got to try and make something entertaining, interesting, and keep your attention to the people. Plus, come back in professionally on time to bring them all back at the same time with you. And if you're not, you can go, and then you drag it back in and you find a way to snake it in. You know, that's always been that solo thing you're talking about. That's where that's at. That's something that has to be worked on as well as any other part of being a drummer in itself. To just hold the groove is one thing you got to work on. To be able to constantly keep the groove, the syncopation, snare drum to bass drum, foot patterns of, you take stuff like what the heck is that song? God, I'm trying to think of the name of the song. Think of a song by Led Zeppelin, like there's certain distinct drum track that you hear right off the bat. You can't play anything but that. If you're going to do that song, you better be playing it exactly that. Otherwise, they're going to go, what is he doing? That's not how it goes. Amateurs that don't play drums at all.
Are you talking about Whole Lot of Love?
Yeah. So, huh?
Were you talking about Whole Lot of Love? Because I've seen some people screw that one
no,
up.
I'm talking the immigrant song. The immigrant song. I mean, and all Zeppelin songs have grooves like that. You take the wonton song, if you ain't playing that syncopation, people will go like, yeah, okay, right. I know listen to that song on my playing it. And a lot of judgmental people can be very judgmental about what we call signature type songs that have signature licks that have to be like the record. And that's Zeppelin is one of them. The Beatles is another one. You have to play things like the record.
Right.
That kind of thing. So that's always been a climb.
How about,
huh?
I said, how about your drums? Do you have a set that you play regularly that gets beat up, or do you have one that's special for shows and church stuff?
I got one I got one drum set that has never made its way out of the house yet. It's what I call the John Bonham size Rogers kit. And I'll give you a history on Rogers. Rogers is a drum company that was made here in America back in 1849. They started the Rogers and Son was what the name of the company was originally. And as the years went by, they tried to perfect things.
Didn't I give you a snare?
Huh?
Didn't I give you a snare years ago? A Rogers snare?
Yes, it was the original Rogers and Son. I still have it. That's more of a museum. That's more of a museum piece than a playing drum. It was about cutting bearing edges. We don't got all the time to talk about all of that here. It's about the cut of the wood. They didn't have that down in those years. But Rogers was up against Slingerland and Ludwig and Premier. Premier is the oldest drum company in the world. Premier is the first company to make a drum set. People don't know that. They think it's Ludwig. They think it's Slingerland. No. Premier in England was the first time they put a snare drum, top tom, floor tom, bass drum, hi-hat, ride cymbal. That all started with Premier. Okay? So everybody was competing with each other, and Rogers at one point said, we're going to make the most outrageous drum set ever made. They dipped their chrome 4 times in vats instead of 2 times like all the other companies. So chrome would, even if it pitted, you could work your way past the pits and come back to new chrome again. That's why I still play them today. So I collected Rogers drums over the years. I have 3 working sets that I can work with and a bunch of parts and pieces like a warehouse. I mean, a stock in hardware alone is off the charts that I have. I've collected from yard sales, backyard, because they went out of business many years ago. So the ones you see me playing, those who see me, they're looking like they're like the brand new drums. Some of them, they're not. They're very old. They're from the 1970s or 60s, most of them from the 60s. So like you said, the one drum set for jams is the small bass drum kit, mother of pearl finish. That's a Rogers 1963. That's like a Buddy Rich Highliner edition drum kit. That's what that is. Buddy Rich had a kit like that many years ago. He was endorsed by Rogers for 7 years, Buddy Rich. Other drummers don't want to talk about that, especially Ludwig fans and Slingerland. But he did. He was with Rogers all those years. But they were famous for the Swivomatic tom and holder. It comes out of the bass drum. It's got like a ball inside the socket with the arm sticking out. And you put the drum on it. You could literally spin it any way you want, this way, that way. They were the first company to make that's called the Swivomatic arm and ball. That unit and the octagon-shaped rods so that nothing could fall, slip, or move out of place. Once you set this drum set, it was solid to the floor. It was the first drum set that didn't have any movement problems at all. Top it all off, made out of all maple. So the tone was something I liked. I had them as my first real good drum set after I had the Kent drum set. I ended up with those. And over the years, they disappeared. I ended up playing Yamaha in the church, and I had big sets, electronic sets. I was in a cage at one time full of 26 different drum pads and acoustic drums. I did that for 14 years for gospel television. And then from there, 4 drums. Top tom, floor tom, bass drum, snare drum, Jim Moran days. Started hitting it. I learned how to play all the basic direct stuff, jazz, blues, R&B, signature type rock tunes, all of that stuff started coming into play with that. But Rogers, to me, is my favorite drum set in the world. A lot of guys wouldn't agree. I do. I think they're the greatest drum set ever. And they're now back. They're being made exactly the way they were back in the day. They've replicated the same drum set. And they're going to a lot of money, though. A brand new kit is like starting at around $4,500 for a small kit.
Yeah.
But that's my sound. I love them. If anyone wants to know who they really are, you remember Thin Lizzy? Thin Lizzy's drummer played nothing but Rogers drums. All those recordings were done with a Rogers drum set. That's what he played. So, and the Ramones. The Ramones is another band. That's all he played on was Rogers. So you go on YouTube, watch a film clip of them playing at CBGB's. You'll see a white Rogers kit. It says Rogers right across the bass drum. So they're a reputable top-end drum set that went out of business many years ago. But they're back now. Somebody resurrected it. Some rich guys. But then there's that, and I don't know. Then that's drums and music.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into something a little bit different. For a long time, you kind of didn't tell any about your personal life, which was all the church stuff. And recently, you came to light about that, and you're very inspiring. You've helped me immensely. I mean, with the things that have been going on with me, I should be a nervous bag of wreck rolling down the hill with a bottle of Jack in my hand. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. And I have to thank you for that. I really appreciate everything that you do every night. It really means a lot to me.
Well, I would thank God.
I
would thank God for that, because in myself I could do nothing when it comes to the God thing. It's what He does through me that's happening. It's got nothing to do with me. I mean, He's the miracle worker. He's the healer. He's the miracle worker. And He's the one that answers people's hurts and prayers. But if you want to know what, like I said earlier on, I started when I was very young. I got addicted to all kinds of hard stuff, man. I went down to 108 pounds, lost all my weight, all these teeth and caps and everything. I lost all my teeth down. I was rotted out. I looked like a monster. I lost rights to my kid. I didn't have any rights to my own kid, which I ended up with 2 kids. I had no rights to either one of them. And spent 13 years with no visitation rights to my children. And during those years, I was a part of the gospel church because that's where I went for help. And God miraculously told this preacher things about me he could have never known. And he was famous for that. His whole life in the ministry there, that he has this gift. It's called the gift of the Spirit. And he told me things about myself that my mother was standing right there. She was alive at the time. She was blown away. She was in tears. She said, how could he know all this? And that turned my life around at that time. I stayed in the church. I worked a day job and played in the church, and I had nothing but church friends, and that was it for the next 14 years. I never came out to clubs or anything like that. God geared me out. It's kind of like I see my coming out like Moses when he went into the wilderness. He left all his people and went into the wilderness for a long stretch. And so that was my wilderness years when I came out to the club world, because I couldn't pay for the lessons I got being a part of the Jim Moran, trios and better, whatever we had as far as a sizable group. But that prayer stuff and all of that came. I had a prophet that passed away from natural causes, whatever, he died years ago. But when he was alive, he grabbed me in the church one day, get off the drums, come down here. He said, I see you signing authorizations around the world. I said, what is he talking about? I don't even know what this guy's talking about. I thought he was nuts. He says, I see you signing authorizations around the world in different countries. He said, I see you with, credit and a brand new car and all of this. Everything was going everything I didn't have at the time, right? Well, 4 years later, I had left the church pretty much. I lost my mom, my dad, and my brother, which brought out a whole nother insight to looking for answers from God at that time. But not in a good way and in a bad way at the same time, because I was mad at God because they died. Anyway, long story short, went all over Europe with Larry Burton and Tony Lorenz. And every time we did a show, we had to sign CDs. I see you sign an authorization around the world. 4 years before, I turned white and looked at them like, wow, man. I said, what's up? I said, you guys wouldn't understand. It's about prophetic prophecy. Oh, yeah? Well, I ain't doing this, Tony said. I play for a giant gospel church that's televised in California. I didn't know that. Larry had been involved in gospel churches, too. I had no idea. So the two of them knew what I was talking about. So, Anyway, I kept it under my hat. I got to a place where I started to see the whole world gearing toward self-help, karma, happy thoughts instead of real prayers to God, and things like that. And look, I'm not here to judge anybody and tell them that they're just plain stupid and wrong. But where I come from and what I've seen God do for me to save me out of the junk that I went through, that don't fly. He gave you a free will. Everybody's got a free will. If you want to believe in that stuff, go ahead and believe in it. But me, I choose not to ever disrespect the creator of all things, God the Father. I refuse to ever be in that position. I don't want that life. So I kept my mouth shut and said, I ain't telling nobody nothing about this. I got it for me. Lord, you saved my butt. And I'm going to stay with it. I know, and I'll keep studying all my life. And I'll just go do gigs here and there, different shows or whatever we got to do. See what I can do on the outside here. And that's it. That's what I'll do. I'm not going to bring this out because I'm not going to argue scripture and verse. I'm not going to argue religious background. I'm not going to argue whether or not there's a God in the sky. And I've seen people doing this all over the news, all over the Bible. I see the government at one point was just trying to squish Christianity completely. Hooray for the Muslims' belief. Hooray for this one's belief. Hooray for that one's belief. And no Christianity, which I thought was so offensive. I couldn't believe it. But anyway, I was seeing all of this. I said, so I'm not telling nobody nothing. I ain't going to go out there and be that guy. I'll just say to myself, I know where I'm going, and that's all that matters to me. That's how I saw it. And then with the coronavirus, weeks back, I was sitting on my recliner. I was sleeping on it. I was sleeping on the recliner. I woke up and covered in sweat. When I first woke up, I thought I had the virus. I said, what the heck is this, man? I felt something inside of me talking to me, like talking inside my head. And he said, why would you leave your friends with nothing but fear and anxiety with the things that you know of the truth of me that can make them not have to feel any of that? You call yourself a friend? You call yourself my friend? Man, that brought tears to my eyes in a hurry. I didn't know where to go with that. And I said, how could I possibly reach them, God? I'm stuck here in this apartment. I got COPD. I got emphysema. I'm diabetic, and I got my heart is like my father's in the family's passed. They have them dead already. Excuse me. So that's the COPD, by the way. So anyway, I didn't want to do it, and I said I can't reach them. It's impossible. How am I going to get to all of them? I'm stuck in this apartment. And I heard in my head in a still small voice, it went, Facebook. I went, oh, wow. That live thing, I've seen people do it. How do you even do that? So I pulled the phone out. I'm looking at it. I said, oh, I guess it's that camera. Click. Press that to start. That easy? So the first night I went on there, I just went on. I didn't tag nobody, nothing. I just started talking live on Facebook. And I'm watching hearts, fingers, thumbs, and it was like a man out like a pinball machine. I was like, what the heck is going on? I just kept teaching stuff that I knew, the way I seen it, the way what God has revealed to me. And then I realized I was showing stuff and stuff was coming out of my mouth that I hadn't even learned yet. And I knew he took it over. I knew it was all about him now. And I knew that it wasn't about me doing it. It was about him using me as a conduit. So he said to me, would you stick with it? And I said, yeah, I'll do it. I'll do what you want me to do, God. So that's going to be a part of me. I'm sure this has changed.
You're getting some damn views there, buddy.
Huh?
I said you're getting some damn serious views there.
I know. It's pretty heavy.
You know? The views, they're good views.
Well, he said friends. I thought he was talking about my immediate friends like Jim and the guys and you guys and people I've known for 30 years. I didn't think it was going to be, people in Florida, Connecticut, upstate New York around there. I couldn't believe it, man.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I found that there was an issue that, but I have my talks with God. I got a big yard here to walk around and it's all fenced in. And I walk around and I talk to him. And I talk out in mid-air. People think you're nuts, but that's what the Bible's all about, talking to God and trusting and knowing that he's there. I've been doing that for 40 years. I've always talked to him on a regular basis, So I didn't see anything strange about it to me at all. I just don't tell the whole world about it. I kept it to myself. But I'm doing that outside. And I'm walking around and I told him, I said, you changed my image for good, probably, for what happened here. And he said, is that bad or good? I said, well, I'm sure it's gonna have its hiccups here and there, but it's nothing that you can't handle. I said, so I'm not worried about that. I said, but I'm not, people will be afraid to say certain things.
My son just called. My phone went nuts.
Oh yeah. Oh, I hate when that happens. So it happens to me when I'm online doing the show, doing my thing. Sometimes all of a sudden I got an interruption. Like, click. Anyway, I realized that people to talk a certain way in front of me. After this, they might be afraid to, use certain language. My answer to that is be yourself, man, because I ain't God and I ain't judging nobody. So just be who you are, man, with me. Don't treat me any different than I was before. And that goes for you too, Jim Moran. If I suck in the middle of a song, tell me, you suck. What are you doing, man? Don't hesitate, because I learned from him. I'm not going to stop it. I always had, and that's another thing I always had with the God thing. Is I always seen Jim Moran, like there are people that love him to death, and it's hundreds of people love him to death, But then there's some people have had problems with him from the jam nights, And I tell them all the same thing. You can go to a jam where you just powder coat your way through everything, right? But with Jim, he's got a thing where he wants to drag the good out of somebody when he gets them up there. He does what he can to get the best out of them. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's kind of like a coach going from high school coaching to college coaching. The college coach is Jim Moran. He's going to get on you, man. He's going to be like, yo, what are you doing? Get out of the way. Stick to the chords, I mean, off the mic, he'll do it. I say, yo, man, keep it simple. To a drummer that's overplaying. But if you listen to him, I learned early on, I put my tail between my legs. Oh, I know a God, and I'm anointed of God, and I'm not going to listen to Jim. No, that's not it. I'm in Jim's world now. He's teaching me stuff. God was kind enough to put him in my life that I can have something like that happen. That's how I saw Jim, and I always did. And I was fortunate enough to become very good friends with this guy. He's one of my closest friends in the world today.
Yeah.
I see him probably when we were doing it. I see him more than my own family members. So my point is this, that you got to know how to, even though I know a lot about God, doesn't make me better than nobody. Like I tell everybody on my show, I can't heal a mosquito with a headache. Only God can do something like that. And the prayer changes things. And there's prayer that says the numbers in prayers means more power in prayer. One can put 1,000 to flight, two can put 10,000 to flight, the Bible says. I've seen that happen. We just got done praying for you, Jerry, and things just transpired over the last day or so for the miraculous stuff. We were looking at possibly having to wait like forever, can't get an answer on the phone for this or that. Boom. It went in one day. Everything came together. I walked around in that yard 3 o'clock in the morning telling God, she don't deserve to have to go through this, make this work out. And it's our business, what you're going through. Nothing bad, guys. Nothing, no big deal. She just had the normal process of under the coronavirus. She had to deal with some issues. Things came her way, like come to you and come to me.
Well, first I had the virus. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you had it.
Well, a lot of people. Yeah, hold on. Well, a lot of people know that I had it. I kept it under wraps because I don't like to talk my personal stuff. But we're going to talk a little bit personal here. First, I get hit with the virus. I go back to work. I take another week off because I thought I relapsed or, I wasn't ready to go back to work. I go back to work. What is it, 2-3 weeks later? Bingo, laid off. So, and that just happened yesterday. And I made the phone call because one of my housemates knows his way around, the the phone thing. So I called in, I set everything up. I got a phone call today, believe that or not, because there are people that are waiting. They're waiting weeks to talk to somebody to finish up their application. Mine came the next day, and then just before we went on, I got a text message stating, thank you for being patient. We have your application. Everything is filled. Now I just have to hit the numbers every week and pray that the money comes in fast.
Yeah.
Or a job.
That's
way, I'll take either or.
Like I said, on one of my messages this past week that we got, I put it, he's a right now God. He's a right now God. That's what he is, right now. Yeah, and having the authority to know who you are as a created person. You know, it's another thing that I've been bringing out that people don't know. And that's what's getting under their, it's crawling into their souls. I never knew this, man. Like, what did Jesus actually do? Oh, he hung on a cross and was beaten, and he died for all our sins. It's so much more than that no one teaches.
Yeah.
You know, he bonded humanity back to God and made us sons and daughters of the Father himself, according to what I read. So when I saw that, I said, well, then wait a minute. I must be praying wrong. So I learned how to pray right. Go God, go right to the throne room. I've seen things change my whole life. There are things that the not so schooled in that type of thing, not meaning that they're sinners. They just don't have that knowledge that I have. Or God's not showing them things that deep or whatever, for whatever reason. Even like Jim, who's my good friend, and Mike Green, and a bunch of guys that I've known in the past. And, you know, they've seen me get cornered like a rat in situations in life that went wrong in the time that I know them. And they've watched, he got out of that. Look at how he got out of that. Like, God always makes a way where there is no way for me, because I've always trusted in him. And even though I tried not to be such a pain in the ass with them in public, like, I'm going through this. Like, I had the family court years. I was in trouble with them. For my kids were full grown. I owed them $17,000 back money. My kids were full grown. It's not like I never paid them. They took my driver's license and all this stuff because I lost my job at Fish. I couldn't work there no more. I was in hell. And out of nowhere, somebody paid the whole bill. Took a whole year of fighting back and forth with the courts, and I was ready to go to jail for 3 months. And 2 days before I had to turn myself in, I can't tell the whole story online. I don't want to expose anybody for what they did, but somebody I know that at one time wasn't a very nice person gave me a lot of money. And he said, I keep having a nightmare about you having a problem. He says, and he's telling his wife, it has to be from God or something, this dream. I haven't seen you in 30 years. He said, what are you trying? I showed him the paperwork on my kids. He paid the whole debt. Paid the whole debt for me.
Wow.
And just before that happened, I flipped the Bible open in my
totally
house. I was coming apart. I was in tears because I knew in 2 days I was going to have to call Jim and say, "Gotta get somebody permanent for you because I'll be gone for a while." You know, I was going to call right from the prison if I had to. But anyway, I opened up the Bible to a passage where Jesus told this guy to go down to Peter. He said, Peter, tax man was looking for Jesus' tax. He said, go down and put a hook in the water, pull it up, pull out a fish, pull out the coin, and pay the tax for you and me. And after this guy helped me, God said to me, I felt in my spirit, I felt what he said to me was, did Peter work for the tax money? I said, no. He said, did I cover it? I said, yeah. He said, well, I just did the same thing with that. I said, that was 17 grand large, God. I can't believe he did that. He goes, what's 17 grand to God? I own everything. So I was no more pressure. Ended up seeing my kids for all these years. I got the grandkids, big time. Everything's changed.
Yeah. Well, it's about that time that we take another break.
Okay.
So we're going to go to commercial break. We'll be right back.
ALJ Service Center, 2100 Belmore Avenue in Belmore. Ray and the crew have an outstanding reputation in the Belmore community, built by hard work, honesty, and professionalism. ALJ specializes in computer diagnostics for today's modern automobiles. Whether it's domestic or foreign, ALJ assures your vehicle is at peak performance when it leaves. ALJ also offers expert restoration and repair on vehicles as well as antique, classic, and muscle cars. Call ALJ for your automotive needs. 516-409-4433. Once again, that number is 516-409-4433. 409-4433.
This is Jerry Ann Casola. She has just finished working on a collection of short stories about the love and joy rescue animals can bring. Each chapter contains a message about how people should and could be kinder to animals. The book is rated G, meaning family friendly. To order Life in the Pits, send $13 to paypal.me/Jerry Ann Casola.
Pit of Our Souls, a nonprofit animal rescue that deals primarily with pit bulls but will never turn away any dog, no matter what breed or size. Their primary focus is not only to rescue and rehome those in need, but to educate and rehabilitate to prevent the cycle from continuing. Pit of Our Souls offers boarding, training, and as much assistance as possible to those in need. Call Pit of Our Souls 516-308-6221 or check out their website www.pitofoursoulsrescue.com.
All right. Well, good things must come to an end. So, Ed, do you have anything that you want to say to everybody out there during these times before we wrap it all up?
Absolutely. I would urge the whole world that around me that knows me, and I pretty much know a lot of people from what I've seen from Facebook and otherwise, that this is not political, guys. This is an invisible demon out there that's just coming across the whole United States, Europe, and around the globe, taking lives. And it's not an argument over how much we should have done, could have done, would have done. We're doing everything we can to find some sort of an antidote for this thing, find some way to get back to living our lives again. And it's a communion thing for everybody. Stop pointing fingers, man. It's not political. It's so annoying. I watch all this crap on Facebook. I'm like, what are these people doing? You got better things to do with your life than do this. You know? Somebody's hungry, feed them. Somebody's got no money, you got money, give them cash. That's where we're at. That's it. Starvation is at hand. Okay? Homelessness is all around us if this continues. People will be in the street like out of nowhere. You know, that's where we're heading if it stays this way. So to me, we should all be sticking together with this thing and stop the politics, man. I'm so sick of this crap. So annoying, man. You know, we got to watch out for our own country. We should shut the borders a lot earlier, whatever the hell we were supposed to do there. All of that crap. But other than that, it is what it is, and it could have been a whole lot worse. I mean, it was bad.
Yeah.
Well, so I pray for everybody out there that God make a way where there is no way for all of you, man. And he sees you through this time, and everybody help each other, man. That's what we got to do.
All right. So everybody tonight, go to Good Orderly Direction or my page or Ed's page and tune in for him tonight at 9 p.m. I want to thank you for being on. I really appreciate you hooking me up with the last-minute guest change. I want to thank my sponsors, Ray from ALJ Service Center, Russ and Joanne from the Hitman Blues for helping me keep this going. Of course, my producer, Bobby Lucera, because he's so awesome and he keeps the magic alive. To the viewers, because without you, we wouldn't have a show. Next week, we have Warren and Cheryl, the Brew. Ha, 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 ha. Everybody have a great week. See you later.
Thank you guys, too, man, for having me on.